The Federal Reserve backlash has made the United States a target for currency termination. Following last week's announcement of QE2, China's leading credit agency downgraded the U.S. China's vice finance minister said the U.S. isn't living up to its responsibility as an issuer of a global reserve currency. The Fed's move doesn't take into account the effect of this excessive liquidity on emerging market economies. Brazil's president-elect. The last time there was a competitive devaluation of currencies, it ended up where it did, the Second World War. The finance minister in the Eurozone said that I don't think it's a good decision. You're fighting debt with more debt. In reaction to global tensions, President Obama stated that the Fed's mandate, my mandate, is to grow our economy. Not only is this not President Obama's constitutional mandate, the Fed has a horrible record of growing an economy. Since the creation of the Federal Reserve, the US dollar has lost 97% of its value. The Fed is now creating so much inflation that as of March of 2008, they stopped officially reporting M3 money supply. The Fed's track record since its creation is bubbles, depressions, recessions, and of course their main purpose, banker bailouts. The Federal Reserve inflates the money supply. Rather than own up to the cost of war and overburdensome entitlements by taxing its citizens, U.S. politicians turn to the Federal Reserve for money produced by nothing, creating a shadow tax on all Americans. Inflation is the worst tax of all, hurting those weakest in our society. The poor and middle class are paid and save exclusively in Federal Reserve banknotes. They feel good with money in the bank because they are told that the nominal amount is protected. Sadly, of course, as the Federal Reserve inflates to help the Treasury meet its unsustainable obligations, the savings held by the poor and middle class lose real value. The cost of living rises, creeping in slowly. The bankers get to spend the freshly created dollars at their maximum value, while the common man works harder but makes less in value. There's an old saying that a dollar earned is a dollar saved, but that's impossible with the Federal Reserve System. With real inflation north of 5%, $1 today will only have a real value of 95 cents the following year. Of course, economists will tell you that prices are rising, but in reality, money is falling.
Congressman, I couldn't agree with you more that inflation is a tax.
40 years ago, a silver dollar could have purchased 4 gallons of gasoline, and today, because of the silver in it, it can still purchase 4 gallons of gasoline. However, the paper dollar currency backed by nothing hasn't fared as well. It now takes $3 to purchase a gallon of gasoline. Again, no one notices the slow death of a fiat currency, but one thing we do know is that they all die. So far in the world, we have seen just over 3,800 fiat currencies, and they have all become worthless. Meanwhile, honest money, gold, silver, or anything not created by man still holds value, just as it held value 5,000 years ago. The Federal Reserve System injects artificial stimulus into the economy every day. The Fed loans money to the banks loan money to people and governments. This distortion in the marketplace creates businesses, wars, entitlements, and demand that we don't need. Where would housing prices be without all this money in search of a borrower? Housing prices from 1610 to 1913 had zero inflation relative to income. But in the last 10 years, we have seen what artificially low interest rates can do to a market. The Federal Reserve lowered interest rates dramatically, causing housing prices to soar. Housing inflation soared across the nation. Once the Federal Reserve raised rates, all of the artificial demand came crashing down. By having a small group of people set interest rates for the entire nation, it makes it impossible to allow the free market to set prices. When policyholders talk about interest rates being too high or too low, they're really talking about price fixing. Take a minute to think about interest rates. If the Fed, not the free market, lowers interest rates, homes, vehicles, and credit card payments become cheaper. When things that people want become cheaper, demand goes up. When interest rates go from 20% in 1980 to almost 0% in 2005, debt payments get cheaper, demand goes up, and prices go through the roof. The Fed literally pushes people into making decisions they otherwise would have not. Americans overconsume because money is cheap. It's only a $200 payment for that new car, or a $15 a month payment for those new shoes. Not only does the Fed distort demand, but as a result, it distorts the jobs that are created to meet that demand. Rather than new jobs being created from innovation, jobs are created to meet the new consumer demand created by low debt payments. In fact, oftentimes because of the Fed, new ideas never even become a reality. Remember, when a bank decides to loan money to a risky subprime borrower, the bank is not loaning money to someone else. If the American people want to put power back into their hands and enjoy the fruits of their labor, we must fight to end the Federal Reserve. Right now, the National Inflation Association is projecting hyperinflation in the United States by the year 2015. For more information about how you can prepare and prosper, please visit inflation.us.